And good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome Amari Jsames to Crux Fade. Amari, welcome to have you to the show. How are you today?
Doing good, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great. So before people knew you as a basketball player, who was Amari Jsames?
Ah, man. I was actually a smart kid. I was actually really good with I was really a big reader. I was always a real big conspiracy theorist kind of guy. So, adults always like to ask me those kind of questions. So, yeah, I was always a real big theorist kind of kid.
What was one of your big conspiracy theories? Just
The
just to dive
the
into it.
the first one I ever had was when I looked into the moon landing, and I said, "Ooh, I don't know about that one. I don't know."
What is
It
it
didn't
about the
seem
moon landing that you say I don't know about?
so. When I was looking into it, I remember a big thing was when they landed, the flag was moving almost as if the wind was blowing in space, and everybody's like, there's no wind in space. And then it was just like, the whole thing of them going to space was just to beat Russia or whoever we were in the Cold War with, and it was just like, it seemed like something we would do just to, fake it, just to make it seem like we won, you know.
Yeah, I can see that side of it. I went back and forth on it
Yeah.
myself. Recently, I watched this guy's podcast named Danny Jones, and he had a astronaut from the moon landing that was on there, and then he had a guy on there that was a big conspiracy theorist for like 20, 30 years now. That was super interesting. I left the show and did some more research, and I'm still not really decided on what I believe in it, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what this show that we're doing is all about. It's not only just to get to know basketball players and to tell their story and their journey, but it's just to talk about things that are happening in real life and just sort of put ourselves out there because that's
Right.
just natural as human beings. So we're happy to have you on here. Growing up with a single mother in a tough neighborhood, what did survival look like day to day? And can you tell me a little bit about that?
I mean, survival, I wouldn't really say, my mom always kept me out of, everything that, I wasn't supposed to be doing. So I was never allowed to be outside past the street lights, Whenever I'd come home and I'd want to go somewhere, I'd want to do something, she has to know the mom. She got to know where I'm going, what I'm doing. So, I really didn't have a real way to get into trouble. So, my mom really kept me out of trouble the best way she could, and it worked. So,
Yeah, I understand that. When would you say the earliest was that you learned about responsibility?
I would say, I would probably say when my sister was born, and when you have somebody that you kind of owe, at your protection and your loyalty to, and you not even know the person, and honestly, she'll tell you too. We didn't even like each other the first couple years she was born. So, but it's just like an undying amount of loyalty that you have to have, and even at a young age, I was responsible enough to know, like, if I go somewhere with my sister, I got to make sure she's all right. Before I make sure I'm all right. So.
Was there anything that you were specifically trying to avoid becoming, or did you just know from the get go you wanted to be a basketball player?
I would say I knew from the moment I came out of the womb, I was a basketball player. I mean, it was a as soon my earliest memory is watching a Lakers basketball game, and I mean, I fell in love with it from the second I started watching it. So I don't think I ever really saw myself as anything else except for a basketball player.
How old were you when that happened, and who were you watching? Like who was on the Lakers team then?
Oh, this was Kobe Bryant. This was about 2009, 2010. I actually remember watching in a hotel the Celtics finals series, and yeah, that's my guy, Kobe. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a big Kobe fan.
Yeah, I love Kobe. He always tell
Yeah.
kids you got to have the Mamba mentality. Yeah,
Right. Yep. I remember.
even this day when we're interviewing kids that come to experience, I'm not even sure sometimes why we ask because everybody's going to say they've got that mentality. But then
Yeah.
when you start practice, only one or two really have it. There's
Hmm.
just certain elements that you look for in that specific mentality that you have to have that defined having it. And
Right.
as you probably know, there's just more that don't have it that think they have it than do have it.
Definitely.
So it's really a unique thing. So take us through your basketball career from the very beginning, and take us up to high school to when you get cut, and what kind of a moment that is for you.
Right. So, I mean, from the beginning, I was definitely always good at basketball. I mean, elementary school I was always really good, and then when we got to middle school, I was really good. Like in my city in Sandy Springs, I was really good, and was playing for a good AAU team, and then everything was going really well. And then when I got to high school, I played varsity my freshman year. I didn't really play much, but it's a big thing for a freshman to sit on varsity. And so the next year when I came back, I was just looking to build on that, and I actually started my sophomore year on varsity, and then we had a decent season. What not the best, but I decided ultimately to transfer to a different school just because I felt like honestly, I felt like I was a really I honestly felt like I was a big fish in a small pond, and I really felt like I needed somewhere bigger to be able to let off, what I felt like I really could do. And when I got there, everything seemed good. I mean, tryouts went well, and everything went well. And then you look at the roster and you're on JV, and I mean, obviously that's like, heart crushing for anybody that plays sports. I mean, especially you're a junior and you want to play at the highest level. So, that's not really the path that a lot of people take. So, you're real confused at the time. And, it was a tough time. I honestly didn't even really want to play basketball anymore. It just felt like it was, kind of pointless. But my mom, she was there for me, and she made me keep going. And she was the one that would wake me up like, yo, you haven't been to the gym in a minute. Like, you need to go ahead and get on that. So, I actually ended up playing the rest of the year on JV. And instead of transferring again, which I feel like most people would do, me and my mom decided to stay just because, we felt like we came here and we wanted to show our loyalty to the school. And like, we weren't gonna waver under any just bad circumstances or anything. And we did that and we stayed, and I came back, and I had a real vengeance. I had a real like meaning to want to go get what I needed. And when I came back, I had a real good tryout. I mean, I honestly felt like I was the best player there. And then you check that roster and you're not on the roster. And it was my senior year. So, it was a hard time. I mean, especially when you're just watching all your friends play and you're watching all these games, and you're watching from the bed, and it's just like man, like you I could really be out there right now. And it was definitely a tough time, but we stayed through it, we stuck through it, had a good AAU year. My mom came to every single game, she recorded every single game, we posted them on Twitter. And then I got that text from Coach Cross. I mean, the rest is history. Went to Experience, had a great time at Experience, great year at Experience. And then shortly after started talking to a JUCO where I am now. And yeah, that's the story so far. That's where it ends.
So take us back to when you're in high school and you're transferring schools. Are you transferring schools because you feel like you need to go to a bigger school, and a bigger school is going to ultimately help you reach your dream of playing college basketball?
Yep. I definitely felt like I felt like I needed to be on a bigger stage. My school where I went to was they were a 5A or a 4A school. So it wasn't too small, but we didn't really play the competition that I really wanted to see, and the school that I transferred to, they just came off of a playoff. They went to the state playoffs, and they had a pretty good run. So yeah, I just felt like I needed to be on a bigger stage to showcase my abilities.
Going back to that decision, do you wish you would just stay where you were, or are you glad that you still made the move?
I mean, there are definitely some days where I'm like, I wish I would have just stayed at North Springs. But I mean, the way that I live my life, it's kind of like everything that happens was supposed to happen. Because at the end of the day, if I never transferred, and if I never got cut, I probably would have never been that experience, and I would never would have met you. I never would have met Coach Cross and Coach Raw, and I never would have met these friends that I have that are going to be lifelong friends. I've made some real lifelong relationships, and So, everything happens just the way it's supposed to.
So take us now to where you're at now. You're at Andrew College, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that what? Can you hear me? So right now
Yes,
you're
sir.
at Andrew College. Tell me a little bit about the campus and how basketball functions on their campus, and how what your day to day life looks like.
Right. So, I mean, it's a JUCO, so I mean, it's a small school. I think we have around 500 kids, maybe a little less. And so, I mean, the campus is it's a small campus. I mean, my day to day life, I mean, it's pretty simple. I wake up in the morning. We'll either go shoot and then go lift, or lift and then shoot. We kind of switch off, and then after that, we go to class. We're going to eat, and we're not really on campus much. We usually then we'll go back to the room, maybe play games or something, and then we're coming back for practice. And I mean, after the practice, it's pretty much nighttime after that. So yeah, the day to day life. I mean, it's a place where I'd say you could definitely you find yourself. There's no distractions really. There's nothing to do out there. So I mean, it's just you and the basketball for real.
What was your biggest shock when you got to Experience Academy, considering that you had sort of been on a 2 year layoff and then you're coming into one of the toughest schedules in the United States? What was that? What was that like?
So I wouldn't say the biggest shock to me, because I knew the schedule we played before I came. That was that's a big reason for me coming to Experience, was to play these people that I've been wanting to play for so long. But I would say the biggest shock that I had, especially early on, was that there's people from everywhere, all walks of life in this country and even in other countries that you may never even think, like, there's people out here that are really working hard to be at the same level you are. When you're in a city, I feel like in a big city, you just feel like that's all there is. I didn't realize that, in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, there was going to be a basketball player, that's really good, or even Virginia. It really opened my eyes to see there's different, different levels to it. And there's just different ways of playing, and different, people come from everywhere to get where they are.
What habit, mindset, or belief had to change in you for you to take the next step after Experience Academy?
I had to grow up quick. Um, I felt like the big thing for me was that I think I was a real humble guy. I felt like I was a really, taken I would kind of let things slide a little bit. But when I got to college, I realized, you let things go too often. That's just what it's going to be for you. And, you're going to get overlooked constantly. And, I feel like I've been overlooked since I got cut from high school. So I got tired of that. And when I decided to grow up, and I said, I came here for a reason. That was the biggest mindset switch I had, was that, I'm here for a reason. And just like everybody else, like, it's my time just as much as it's everybody else's time.
When did you realize that this wasn't just about basketball anymore?
I mean, I would say I realized it early on. I feel like a lot of kids don't realize it until late, and that's where their troubles hit. Because I mean, you could be really really good at basketball as best as you think you could be, and things don't work out for you. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into it. And I mean, the quicker you figure that out, the better. Because I mean, there's a lot of situational things that go into basketball. There's a lot of politics. And I mean, you kind of got to be able to take it all in, and just be able to keep striving for where you want to be.
Was there a moment where you thought, I'm actually heading in the right direction? Or was there a moment like, this may not be for me anymore?
Oh, I mean, if this is what you really love, I mean, and this is what you really want to do, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of both, you know, at all times. I mean, there'll be a little bit of both in the middle of a season. There'll be a little bit of both in the middle of a game. There'll be things that you might make a shot and you're thinking, oh yeah, like this is going to be a great game, the great game. You might miss a shot and you're thinking it's going to be a terrible game. So I started out the season playing really well, and I was, I really, I was feeling good, and I thought, this is really going well. And then, maybe I had a stretch of two bad games, and now I'm in a bad mood, and now I don't think I'm the greatest basketball player. So, just being able to deal with the highs and the lows, I feel like is a real important thing. Not letting yourself get too high, and definitely not letting yourself get too low. So,
Walk me through a time when you were at Experience Academy that you definitely felt like you had a defining moment that we're talking about here, like good or
oh,
bad,
I
like just
I think we have the greatest defining moment, me and you, in the locker room at Johnson University. And I actually tell this story a lot because I always appreciated the fact that I was able to come to you with a grown man, adult conversation, and we were able to have that conversation. And even in it was right after the game. It was probably terrible timing to even have a conversation like that. But you were able to, tell me what I needed to hear. And you tested me, and then after that we didn't have, there were no issues. It was real easy coasting, and I feel like that was the biggest. I tell that story all the time because I always say, like, if
take
you
us
if
through it.
you
Like let's like take us through the story.
all right, yeah,
Let's
let's
let
hear,
them
let's
hear
go.
what it's about.
All right, so basically, let's start it off. So basically, beginning of the year, I come in and there's another point guard, Jerome Conway, and he just won two state championships in Virginia. I mean, he's really good. And he was getting the most of the workload at the point guard position. But in practice, me and Jerome would always go at it. It would just be me and him going at it. So I always felt like, and now that I think about it now, I don't think I was right in this, but I always felt like maybe I should be playing a lot more. Like, I'm thinking, if me and Jerome can do this at practice, why can't I play in the games? And so when I felt like I wasn't getting the minutes that I wanted, and it got to a point where I was just really fed up with it after Johnson University, and I said, Coach Grayson, I said, so what's the deal? And you said, I mean, Amari, you gave it to me straight, and that's why I really appreciated it. You said, Amari, Jerome is just better than you, and it was that simple. He's better than you. And you know what else he said? He said, you know what? I'm going to give you an opportunity. You said, the next game, I'm going to give you a chance to show me that you can handle this, you pressure, and you can handle the physicality, because up to that point I hadn't showed you. So you gave me that opportunity, and that game went well. I think I had a 17-point game. I had a couple of assists, and we won the game. And so after that, I feel like you had a lot of more trust in me, and I definitely had a lot more trust in you. And I mean, it just went a lot smoother after that.
There's definitely a fine balance between being a basketball coach and being a player. Like as a player, like it just seems like if you want to really perform, you can just go out there and perform. And then as a head coach, you're trying to like build relationships but not destroy
Right.
confidence. And
Right.
so I always try to keep it like as honest as I can with how I feel about
Right.
other people because I understand like what's going to happen if they don't make it or if they don't succeed. But at the
Right.
same time, in the back of my mind, even if they're in a situation where they're not doing as well as we thought they would do when we recruit them, like I'm not necessarily giving up on them. I think,
Right.
and this what I'm about to say even includes myself. I think at a certain point in a basketball player's career, we all think that we're better than that we are, and then we're
Yep.
all naive to what really is keeping us off the floor. For me, when
100%.
I was your age, what kept me off the floor was turnovers and being nervous. And
Yep.
I had to learn to not turn the basketball over and not be nervous. And it took almost 2 years to learn that. And a lot of times people don't have the patience to wait out 2 years to keep playing
Yep.
basketball. And it's like I tell people, I've played professional on some type of level basketball wise. I'm not saying I made a lot of money. I'm not saying that I was great or anything like that, but I did have a professional experience. And I can say that that was mainly through waiting and waiting and waiting some more. That
For
had
sure.
I been impatient, I would have quit like everybody else because there were certainly
Yep.
guys that I felt like were better hoopers than me at a certain age that could have easily played. at the level I played at or higher, but it's a patience game and it's how much you want it. And that's sometimes what we don't necessarily bring or talk to about, like when people are coming in and they just don't want to hear that. Like, I feel like I
Right.
have good things to say to players all day long, but if you get a guy who just doesn't want to hear nothing from nobody, then it just is what it is, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
yeah,
I
I think
completely
that was,
agree.
but you definitely like excelled, like coming from somebody who hadn't gotten to really play in 2 years to come to our program and contribute the way you did. You definitely had an impact on our team, and I can remember specific games like at Fork Union and other places where you went in and you were the difference and you accepted your role. Like there's sometimes where I'm coaching players and they're trying to have attitude on the bench or they're trying to complain when they get taken out. And that definitely was never you. Like you were just there to be a good teammate, a good friend to people. And I think that's why you ended up getting that opportunity is because all those things matter.
Absolutely. I know. I 100% agree.
So, what separates players who make it at the level you're at from fading out? Like, like if you got if there has it been a pretty steady same group for a couple years, or is it just crazy because of the transfer portal, or what's that like being on a D1 JUCO right now?
So, I mean, I think I could touch on what you were just saying. I mean, a lot of kids, when things go wrong, or whenever everything's not going right, or it's not, they're not used to, they get uncomfortable. A lot of kids will quit, and I mean, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be hard. That's the thing. And I mean, there were a lot of kids on my team last year. I mean, our team from last year and our team from this year is completely new. The team from last year, I think most of the kids aren't even there. Most of them aren't even playing basketball anymore. So it's just like, it's you got to stay the course. I mean, it's gonna be rough. And there were kids on the team that aren't playing basketball anymore that were good, like that were really good at basketball and could have went and played somewhere else, but they weren't able to stay the course. And off the court things, and just there were a lot of different things that go into play. And I mean, I think it's the saddest thing ever to see a guy with real potential to just give up on his thing too early. Because I mean, I never wanted to, and that's why I'm still going. I never wanted to live with the regret of knowing that I didn't go as hard as I could have, or I didn't, put in as much as I could have to get where I wanted to go. And I never wanted to just live with that regret every day. I don't think I would be able to. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with this transfer portal, and it's a big topic amongst Division 1 coaches now. But a couple of weeks ago, Experience Academy played a Division 1 JUCO that very much seemed like you were playing a Division 1 college or university because of all the players they had at a Division 1 that came down to play because they had nowhere to go from being stuck. And with that being said,
Yep.
it almost makes me wonder if prep schools should even be playing certain junior colleges now if they're going to be loaded like that because it's just a confidence killer to the kids when, before 7 years, 8 seasons before, that would be games we were competitive in. And this game
Yep.
just wasn't competitive at all. It was like a practice scrimmage for them. And so, I'm just putting it out there that as things keep heading in that direction, Division 1 JUCOs are going to be like watching Division 1 teams because uh,
Yep.
Division 1 players don't have anywhere to go when that transfer portal
Right.
gets overloaded now.
And I mean,
So
I always say like JUCO almost is the new college basketball, the new D1 basketball. It's like a pro game. Everybody's making a lot of money. There are kids now. They're coming from the NBA back to college, and I mean, it's a pro league in my opinion. So
yeah, it's
JUCO
listen,
is the new.
it's already it's super insane, man. Like the way
Yeah, it's
it
it's
just
getting
can't keep
crazy.
going this way forever. Look, if you really think about it, let's imagine that every year college coaches are not recruiting high school seniors. About
Right.
every coach that I talk to tells me we're not recruiting high school seniors. Every coach. We've already
Yep.
got our roster built. We'll look at post grad kids, then we'll look at junior college kids, then we'll look at D2. We might even look at D3. But all it does is like eventually something has to break. And
Right.
so,
Because you can't blame
what do
the
you, what,
coaches.
what, I mean, eventually there'll be no more kids. Eventually, you'll be
Right.
recruiting kids that couldn't afford to go post grad that have been out of basketball for a couple of years because they have no
Yep.
choice. Because
Right.
once things go the course, and we've been on this course since COVID, and they started issuing extra years and all that. Like eventually, you've got to go back to recruiting the high school athlete eventually.
Right.
So that's just sort
Yeah,
of
for sure.
obstacles that we face not only as um, administrators and post grad and coaches and post grad, but just in general, like with dealing with this transfer portal. Look, I think if you've been in the NBA draft, I don't think you should be able to go back to college if you don't get drafted. I mean,
Man,
there's
I
too
don't think I
many
think the same thing.
scenarios going on here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty insane the fact that people can go pro and then come back to college. I mean, but you can't really you can't blame the kids. You can't blame the coaches for bringing them back because, as a coach, why would I go get a 18-year-old kid who's never played college basketball when I could go get a pro, you know? So you
Yeah,
can't really blame the people involved, but it's just a tough
it makes me
situation for
wonder
sure.
what exactly is going on in the G League. Like that, it's not. It seems like they have
Well,
this G League and it's competitive, but it's not there to really bring players up. Like, I feel like
right.
Mac McClung should be starting on an NBA team, getting 25 to 30 minutes a night, five
Right. I
ten
mean,
or
there's a lot of
5'11",
dudes,
whatever
yeah.
his true 6 foot, whatever height he is. He's athletic enough to be on the floor, and it just seems like this guy is getting robbed, and
Yep.
that's just like what is the G League for? Like maybe there
I
needs
mean,
to
I
be
don't
more NBA teams. Maybe they.
I think so too.
I don't know what the answer is.
I think an
So
expansion of the NBA is coming, yeah.
yeah, I think there's more people like me and you than there are people that go to Division 1 schools, Division 2 schools, and have success. I think there's more people trying to find out where they fit in and trying to
Yep.
just do something positive with basketball that don't ever really get to blossom like they should. And so it is with everything in life. Like, you might have somebody next to you working just as hard as you who can do something just as good as you, not even basketball related, but somehow one of you guys is going under the radar, one's getting paid a lot
Yep.
more, the other one's just the role player. I've
Yep.
always said basketball is a lot like life, and you
It
can
is.
compare the two. Like, you're going so fast, 100 miles an hour in the game. You have a couple turnovers. You don't have time to dwell on those turnovers. If you're going down the road, you get a speeding ticket. You don't have time to dwell on that speeding ticket. You just got to
Right.
not get another one.
Gotta keep going.
So it's the only sport where everything is so back and forth unless there's a timeout called. Like in
Right.
football, you have a couple moments to relax after a play and to regather yourself.
Mhm.
The same thing in some of the other sports. But with basketball, it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you're going. Yeah, you're going.
So, but what did now that you're at Andrew College, let's just what's the goal? Like, what's your next step? Like, is it D2, D1? Is it anywhere that to keep the career going? Like, what's the next move for you?
So for me, I mean, because I have another year that I could go to JUCO because I redshirted last year. I really want, to finish out my JUCO years just in case. Well, I mean, honestly, I just want to go to the best possible situation. But if the best possible situation is a JUCO that could lead me to another better situation because I have that year, I've been thinking I might as well use it. But I mean, I'm just looking for the best possible situation. I just want to be a part of a winning team. That's my biggest thing now. I want to win now. That's my biggest thing.
What is your biggest challenge that you're dealing with currently with the team that you're on and the coach that you have?
Biggest challenges, I would say, I mean, you come into an offense and you're coming into a school. When you go into college, you're going into a program that already has, an offense, already has a way of playing. Some schools may even have a certain culture. So learning to adapt is going to be the biggest thing for a lot of kids because you may not like how the coach is calling plays. You may not like his offense, but you're here, so you have to run it. So being able to adapt because the way, especially, this is a big thing. So at experience, we played more of a 5 out, you know, pass and cut. get to the rim kind of offense. And at my new school here, there's not a lot of spacing on the floor, and you kind of have to get your shots in other places. So, I'd kind of just figured out how to get my shots in other places and where I would be able to get my shots from. And, just working on that every day, you get better, at those things. And yeah, I feel like that's the biggest thing, just being able to adapt.
What's the craziest thing that you've seen since you've gotten to college? Like, have you seen like anybody get sent home or kicked off the team? Like, are coaches like as crazy about things as I was, like with being on time and stuff like that, or have you like seen any real eye popping scenario like that I've talked about as a coach, but you deal with now as a player?
I feel like the most eye-opening things is what happens off the court. I mean, off the court, a lot of kids, I mean, they're doing things they're not supposed to be doing. I mean, that's when you realize, uh, this is what I want to do. I want to stay on this path. I mean, a lot of kids were getting sent home because they were getting in trouble with, the actual law from last year. So, there's a real I mean, you're an adult when you get to college. You're a grown up. So, you have to do things in an adult way. You can't, just do what you want. This is not, just a sleepaway camp. This is, college. This is a real job if you look at it how you're supposed to be looking at it. So I mean, yeah, that's probably the biggest eye-opening thing.
What is a typical college practice like where you're at? Like, is it laid back? Is it intense? Like, is it not what you thought it would be? Like what's your experience going from somebody who's particular about all the small things like I am to a college environment?
Well, where I am right now, I can say for 100% certainty is definitely not the practices are definitely not as intense as experience academy practices. Um, I mean, we don't really. I would say that it's a lot more methodical. Our practices at in college now. I mean, we'll do some warm up stuff to start out the practice, some layup, warm up drills, and then after that, we're getting into a little bit of competition stuff. And then after that, I mean, it's pretty much, run your plays, run your offense against defense, run your offense against this. Now it's run your defense against what they like to do, or now we're running against the press. And I mean, that's pretty much the rest of the practice will be
How many
live.
people are on your college team, and how does that affect your practice? Like if you're working on facing something like a certain scheme or a certain defense or even a certain offense, do you guys actually have enough personnel to do that, or do you only have like a certain amount of players available sometimes?
So when I came into school both years, there were 50 kids, at practice. So to begin, this not a
50
joke, not a
kids.
joke. Yeah, like actually, this is not a joke. We to start off the year for the first, I want to say August, September, and probably October too. It was all 50 kids in the gym at one time. So I mean, you really, that's why I
How do
say
you
your
have
first.
50 kids at a practice? Listen, I joke throughout the years, even when you were there, like you'll go into a varsity division 2 and there'll be 30 kids there
Right.
because they're going to take half of them and get their student aid and use it for JV and probably
Yep.
serve most of its purpose for varsity. But how do you have a practice with 50 people in the gym?
I mean, man, you don't that's why I say your first impression is so important because you in those 3 months that, you're working just to show coach that you're good enough to even be on the varsity team, to even be looked at, to even be on the team. I mean, you're only touching the ball maybe 5 or 6 times in a practice. So what you do with the ball, that those 5 or 6 times is the most important thing. I mean, if when we had a scrimmage day, I mean, that day, you really don't wanna be messing up, on the first couple of
So it's like a
scrimmages.
continuous 50 people until either people cut themselves or until you start games and see that you're not on the list. It's like a football
Yep.
team.
We didn't
And
have we had both teams practicing up until, I wanna say, up until, like, because our first game was, Halloween. I wanna say up until, like, a week before game day is when we finally shortened it up, to, what, I think we have 20 now, or 20. No, we have like, yeah, I want to say 20 or maybe 25. I think it actually is 25. So yeah, he shortened it up to 25 like a week before. And yeah, I mean,
Man,
it's still, the bench is
I've never heard
full.
of that one, but I just don't know about that. Like that just
Um,
seems crazy to me. Like,
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not saying you're
I
not
never really understood it.
saying the truth. I'm saying, wow, there's 50 people here. Like as a coach, I have anxiety coaching 18 kids. Sometimes when we have 18, much less like 25, but
Right.
close to
That's
50 is
why, I mean,
insane.
you got to
And
be doing the right thing at all times,
how do
because
you
there
keep up
can't be
with
a time.
like that many personalities? Like,
Oh, I
and
mean,
everybody probably thinks they're good enough to be in the top 16.
yes, and that's what you'll notice. I mean, the first 3 months, I mean, everybody thinks they're going to start. There's 50 people that think they're going to start on this team the first 3 months. And I mean, I feel like, the big thing for me was when we would get in the gym for, by ourselves, not during practice. I kind of established myself as one of the guys, just to the team. Not even the coaches aren't even in the gym, but I established myself real early, just so that, I don't know. I kind of just felt like I needed to establish myself as one of the dudes. So, if we're having runs or if we're scrimmaging, no coaches around, I was getting pretty intense and letting them know, this is y'all coming into my school, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's insane. So, oh, that's insane,
It is. I mean,
man.
but you said you warned us. You warned us. And I didn't
Yeah,
believe you,
I've
coach.
still
I used to
50's
think.
a 50's a push for me though 50.
And
So,
I'm not kidding.
but
There's a
yeah,
real 25 on varsity, a real 25 on JV. And we're still adding. There's this next semester, there's going to be,
I'm
I think,
coming.
yeah, three more transfers, maybe five transfers coming in. So,
Sounds stressful. It really does. Amari,
I
it's
mean,
been good
yeah,
talking to you, man. This is Amari Jsames. We appreciate you. We'll have you back on here in a few weeks when you start playing, and you can tell us about some of the transfers coming in. So,
absolutely. We
but
still have
I would
conference
hate to
play
be a
soon.
college coach right now, especially at a junior college level. If I had 50
Yeah,
players, like I feel like the more each day I kept going on with 50 players, that I'd have to find a way to sneak out of the
right.
gym because I feel like I was going to get beat up after I cut 25.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's 50 different egos in there, 50 different personalities. It's rough. Yeah. But no, I
yeah,
appreciate you, coach, for having me, man.
yeah, we appreciate you. We'll be in touch, and we'll definitely have you back on here in a few weeks, and after you've had a big game or something.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, man. You have a good afternoon, and God
Yes,
bless.
sir.